All right, friends, here's another video. You know what we're doing. The drill is one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. Let's go. All right, if you follow me on social media, I made this suggestion a while back, but now I'm giving a little bit more explanation. Look, tons of folks love to follow me for book recommendations. I'm an avid reader. My personal, I really consider it more of a library study, is around 3,500 books, something along those lines. So here are the 20 books that I recommend for 2025, especially if you are in real estate. Let's get at it. I'm going to tell you the book and I'm going to give you some of the reasons why. So let's start off. First book I have is The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. It's called Get More Done. It's the 12-week year called, the subtitle is Get More Done in 12 Weeks Than Others Do in 12 Months. This is a fantastic book, especially if you are still in goal setting mode. This is one of the best books on goal setting that I have ever read. And one of the best things it does is actually make it more action centered, and it takes it from 12 months and it really pulls it into 12 weeks. And a lot of times when you can implement this, you can actually execute more. Again, my favorite book on goal setting. Check it out. My second book for 2025, Atomic Habits by James Clear. There are a ton of people have newsletters. Let me just be honest. A ton of people have newsletters. Um, and a lot of people post on social media. There's few people that I enjoy more than James Clear, both his newsletter and his social media post. I'm a huge fan of his thoughts around basically habits, discipline, things like that. Fantastic. Tiny changes, remarkable results, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Y'all, this is a classic when it comes to it. The reason I'm suggesting this book is if you want a new year, if you want different results, you have to acquire new habits. You have to do new things. Otherwise, it'll just be another year for you. Don't let that be the case for you. If you want 2025 to be different, you got to look into your habits. All right, the third book I am going to recommend. This is a book that was actually written for real estate agents. I am not a real estate agent, but I have read this book and I find a lot of value in it, so much so that it is one of the books that I quote frequently. And I'll tell you about that in a second. Um, it's called Shift: How Top Real Estate Agents Tackle Tough Times. Um, I think it's normally like red or another color. This is for whatever reason a limited edition one, but by Gary Keller of Keller Williams. And this book was written during the changing market in the great financial crisis, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Inside of it, by the way, inside the cover, it has an email from Gary Keller on Sunday, August 26, 2007, from Gary Keller to the KWU, which I'm going to assume is Keller Williams University course writers. The market has created a need for timely and tightly focused courses that agents can dig into quickly for answers on what to do right now. The 12 topics they struggle with right now are, and he names them out. By the way, I'll tell them to you. Seller pricing strategies, and I'm just going to read the high level, but there's a little bit more included in here. Seller staging strategies, transaction issues and how to resolve, creative financing, converting, uh, you know, converting folks, to an appointment, right? Internet leads, expense management, getting the most from your staff and sales team, creating urgency for buyers, short sales, lead generation, and a positive mindset. But this book was, yeah, he has some other emails from 2007 in here. By the way, one of them says creative financing will be making a comeback in some form. I love that. And I just wanted one more thing here. Let's see. This book was written, yep, 2009. Uh, really enjoyed this book. My favorite quote from it that I frequently mention is that unmotivated buyers and sellers are a waste of time, money, and effort. Um, Great book. So, all right, going on to the next one. This is book number four that I'm recommending. I'll be very honest, I don't always love this author, and it's weird because I always feel like I have to preface it with that. But I'm gonna jump into it. So with that being said, um, there is a lot that I want to there's a lot that I want to, break down. There's a lot that I want to actually share from this book, but it always feels weird that I have to preface with that. So this is the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Some of you may know Grant Cardone. He's a big marketing guy. He also dabbles in real estate. I don't love him for the real estate side of stuff, but I do like him on the marketing. The 10X Rule, the only difference between success and failure. Um, I have again learned from him, especially on the marketing side. One of my favorite things about this book is that he calls out a very common human flaw, which is, for example, let's just say you set a goal. Let's just say you set a goal to lose 25 pounds and for the year. And by, summertime, you're realizing you're not really making much progress. Well, the common human flaw or concept is, well, let me just drop it down to 15 pounds versus 25. Like you shorten your goal versus just upping your actions, like what you're doing. And that is something that I really appreciated from this book. Probably one of my biggest takeaways. It's this concept of, if you're not getting the results you want, don't shorten your goal, but up your action. Love it. All right. Um, Number 5. This is one, this is an author I do like. Extreme Ownership. It's How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Yes, this is a book about leadership, but I think it's more so the concept of that extreme ownership, that like it's this idea that things, ultimately are up to you. I think in 2025, this will be a critical concept, because it's this idea that either 2025 will either happen to you or for you, but it's really going to be your choice. And a lot of that has to come with the mindset. And I really enjoyed that extreme ownership mindset. I think it's critical. All right. The next book I'm going to suggest to you is by one of my favorite authors. And if you've ever heard the book, it's the classic How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is what I consider a modern day version of that book, which is a really great, some folks would even say like a sales one, like a how do you influence people. So the book is Adversaries into Allies, Master the Art of Ultimate Influence by Bob Berg. You'll see Bob, I'm going to reference him in another book later. Hands down, one of my favorite authors. Great book. Truly a lot of practical advice on influence. Um, Really, he actually said, I have on the inside, I'm pretty sure I wrote it on the inside. I know that, yeah, I did. Uh, I think back in the day when I finished it, I had made a book review on my Instagram back in 2021 or something like that. I had a comment on Instagram from Bob Berg, the author, and he said, when I told him I was reading this book, he stated that it was a book that he was put on earth to write. Man, when you find out what else he wrote, maybe you already recognize his name from my other, it's literally my favorite book to recommend to people. Um, I love the other book and I own all his books, but this other book that I love, um, to hear that this is the book that he felt meant to write, man, it speaks volumes. So I actually wrote that inside the cover. I think this is really important, you guys. Because I truly believe that in a changing market, it is critical that you continue to influence. Ultimately, what you want to be doing is getting results, and you want to do it in the way that's best and most authentic to yourself. So I really, really like this book. All right, let's get on to number 7. All right, so this is going to be a more real estate related book. It is Getting the Money. I think I called it Getting to the Money. Getting the Money, by Susan Lassiter Lyons. It's a really small book, okay? And it's how to raise 250,000 in private money in the next 30 days. I am not I'll say this, my focus is in studying and reading is in elsewhere right now, But if I were to pick up one book in 2025, this may be it. To be dead honest, for me personally. So in a changing market, raising capital is key. Literally private money from everyday individuals, not some of the business card that says I lend. So this is a good book on that, my favorite book on the topic. And I have more than one book on the topic. So not in today's list though. All right, for the eighth book, I believe 2025 will continue to be difficult in the ways that 2022, 23, and 24 were difficult. So my next book actually speaks to that. It is The Obstacle. The Obstacle is the Way, The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph by Ryan Holiday. Ryan does a fantastic job of taking like this old Stoics philosophies and turning it into very modern day wisdom. Really enjoy this book. I actually just sent someone this book in the mail. That's how much I like it. All right. You've got to be able to overcome a difficult market. And so that would be a great book to kind of help you with the mindset around it. All right. Number 9. This is a book that honestly in 2025, again, I do think that 2025 will continue to be difficult. And I think the types of folks that will win is the folks who have their finances in order, that they have their house in order in the sense of their finances. And this is my favorite book on financial literacy. It's The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. Um, money on the back, it says, money is plentiful for those who understand the simple rules of its acquisition. Fantastic book. Literally, especially if you're like Courtney, if there's any part of your financial house that you are trying to get in order, that is a great book if you have not read it. All right, the next book is the first of many on my list from the same author. There's only 2 authors that I repeat. No, there's 3 authors I repeat on this list of 20 books. And here's another one. All right, so for number 10, Building Real Estate Wealth in a Changing Market by John W. Schaub. Um, I really enjoyed this book. I do think it's important that you should be building your strategies around the fact that it's a changing market. Truly. Um, ultimately, with this being one of my favorite, this is one of my favorite real estate authors. And this is his book on a changing market. I think it's very practical for 2025. Definitely check it out. All right. I've already mentioned this author once, so here's another one that I'm repeating. And so this is book number 11, One Thing, The One Thing by Gary Keller, The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results, right? I don't know what your goals are for 2025. I don't know if they're big or small, but regardless, focus is critical. One of the biggest threats to your goals is the lack of focus, right? The lack of being focused. And so I want to give you one simple task for 2025, get focused. Truly, some of the most successful people in my life are the best at focusing and kind of saying no to other things, right? And maybe it's you saying no to some other books on this list and just picking 1 or 2 that'll really help you in 2025. That's the question for you. All right. Gary Keller. You can see Gary is one of the 3 authors that I have multiple books from on this list of 20. He This is another one. All right, so going into the next, we have number 12, Building Wealth, Buying Foreclosures by John Schaub. You've already heard me recommend him. He is the real estate guy that he's another one of the real estate guys that is giving that have multiple referrals for. He's my favorite real estate author. Um and he says make the right offer on the right property to make the most profit. Again, building wealth, buying foreclosures, John Schaub. I do not believe there will be a wave of foreclosures, but I definitely believe that in a challenging financial environment, it is important to understand the power of buying foreclosures. All right, let's get on to the next. I'm going to give you an old school guy. John is considered, I would consider him an old school guy in the real estate world. Let me give you one that's no longer alive. And I think this is a great book. This is on number 13, The Negotiating Paradox by Bernard Hale Zick. It's Barney Zick. and it's how you can get more by giving more. Okay, very powerful. Um, I like this one. It's a negotiating book. I do believe that this is a great book. He says, with the old win-win approach, everyone loses some. With the targeting negotiating model, both sides can get more. This book, um, yeah, helps with negotiating all facets of life. All right, with that being said, let's move on to the next one, number 14. I really enjoyed this author. This is The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Truly, you guys, when it comes down to this, in 2025, when things get tough, you've got to think long term, right? You kind of, basically when the suck starts to suck, and it kind of has been for a minute now, it's important to kind of put your head down and work towards, you know, a long-term game. And I really believe in 2025, thinking long-term is going to be necessary. So again, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. People who are thinking short-sighted are going to be the first to quit when things get tough. Don't let that be you, okay? Don't let that be you. So in a changing market, thinking long-term matters. Let me give you the next one. 15. This is my favorite real estate book to recommend. And this is the third book by this author on this list, which is Building Wealth One House at a Time by John Schaub. This is the third edition. Again, this is my favorite real estate book to recommend. I send it to people frequently. I refer people to it. I just referred someone to it earlier today on Facebook Messenger. Easily one of my favorite books to recommend. All right, so speaking of favorite real estate books, let me give you my favorite business book. And most people haven't heard of it. So it's number 16, Extreme Trust by Don Peppers. It's honesty as a competitive advantage. If you listen to this podcast frequently, I have recommended this book time and time again. You've got to set yourself apart. Um, Ultimately, when it comes down to it, you've got to set yourself apart from others. Now, this is the book that I referred earlier, Bob Berg, when I talked about adversaries into allies. This is the number one book that I refer to other people. Number 17, The Go Giver. It's one that even if you read it before, I would encourage you to read it again. Its concept is powerful. It's the little story about a powerful business idea by Bob Berg. Fantastic book, easy to read. This is probably the easiest book in this entire list to read. Um, I've read it over 20 times. It has impacted my mindset a lot. I love it. All right, this is another old school book. It's How to Finance Any Real Estate, Any Place, Anytime by James Misko. You're probably not going to find this cover. There's a newer cover that kind of has more images and stuff going on. This book was originally written in 1932. This is the 1994 version. Great book. Tons of real estate case studies. Of especially, it's also real estate agents. This is one that if you like the creative world, I think it's like 45 chapters and it's like 45 case studies of either how James was either a principal in a transaction or he helped his clients. So I like that one a lot. We're almost done here, folks. Keep sticking around. Number 18, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind by Napoleon Hill. A lot of people read his classic Think and Grow Rich. I actually have been enjoying this one. It's a lot about freedom from and freedom to, especially as you're growing your wealth. And so I really appreciate this topic. It's a new favorite I found recently. And so if you like Napoleon and what he has done, that this may be a good one. All right, guys, last one here, number 20. Who Not How. This is by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It's the formula to achieve bigger goals through accelerating teamwork. If you are trying to improve your systems and scale, I myself do not consider myself a business person, although I have run businesses before, or you could say I'm technically still running businesses. I really enjoyed this book because even if you don't consider yourself someone who needs a whole bunch of staff or whatnot, like myself now, this still has a lot of power. As soon as I finished reading it, I did pick it back up and reread it immediately. That is how good and how timely it was for me. Y'all, 20 books. Those are the 20 books that I recommend in 2025. Oh, let's see if I can do this. All right, here we go. 20 books in 2025, my friends. get at it. These are ones that I believe have inevitable and very timely tools for right now. And so, look, appreciate you sticking around for the rest of this video. Check these out. Let me know if any of these are on your list to read in 2025. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.